and welcome to today's video. This is going to be a fun one because I am using your favorite products. I posted on my community tab a question, what's your favorite drugstore products? What are your recommendations? And so many of you shared your favorites. I have a list running on my phone of all the products that you guys are recommending from the drugstore. So I pulled what I had from that list. I bought the things that I didn't have, and I'm looking at all the stuff here on my desk, and I just cannot wait to try these out, try your favorite products. So thank you to those of you who shared your favorites. If you haven't shared, you can do so in the comments if you'd like to give me some recommendations. What are you loving and using from the drugstore? Because I definitely want to do this again in the future. So we are going to jump right in. We're going to dive right into these products and go ahead and get started. Starting off with the complexion, I'm going to go in with the Ulta Beauty Mattifying Face Primer. I ordered this online. This is just a small mini travel size. They did recently rebrand. This packaging here though is the old existing packaging where it has a different font, different color. It looks a little different. I thought I was gonna get the new packaging, but I think the formula on the inside is the same. It comes out in a very thick, almost silicone-like feel and look to the product itself. And this feels incredibly smooth on the skin. So that instantly mattified my skin, made it really soft and smooth to the touch, which I like. From the list of foundations, the one that I had in my collection was the WnW Tinted Hydrator. So we're gonna go with this today. I have mine in shade Fair, which is the one that I purchased many weeks ago when I did the one brand on this, which I will be linking in the cards, the corresponding one brands to these brands if I've already done one. So I will be adding to this a mix of bronzing drops. I'm gonna go to the Milani ones. Okay, so I've got this mixture already mixed and on my makeup palette actually, and I think that's gonna be a good match. I like having these bronzing drops to adjust my foundation so I don't have to purchase new ones in new shades. That's a quick little tip to throw in there for you. Get a good bronzing drop in a undertone that works for you and just kind of mix and customize your foundations. And I think that's gonna do just the trick for me today. And I'm blending this in with the e.l.f. Complexion Duo Brush. This is honestly one of the best drugstore brushes for complexion products, for bronzers, for blushes. It is perfection. It's the right size, blends in everything beautifully. Next up for concealer, it's the Maybelline Fit Me Concealer. This was the one on the list that I hadn't tried in a very long time. I cannot tell you the last time that I used the Fit Me Concealer. I remember really enjoying it, and I used to use the light, more fair shade. I think it's the lightest shade. I picked up 11 Vanilla to kind of be a little bit more brightening, but a little deeper than my normal go-to shade because I do have a little bit of a tan still from this past summer. I wanted to go with something that wouldn't be too light and bright. So I feel like 11 Vanilla may still give me that brightness, but I think it'll be okay. And I remember really liking the thinness of this product and how easily this blended. And I remember also using a deeper shade as a liquid kind of bronzer type of product. And you can do that with any brand. Get yourself a dark colored concealer. I'm gonna go in with a sponge. And you can use that in place of a liquid bronzer. You don't have to actually use liquid bronzers for that purpose. So I think that's pretty neat. Another little nifty beauty tip to take with you when you go to the store next time. You can pick up your favorite concealer formula in a deep shade that could be your bronzer. And that's blending in very, very well. Let's see. Yeah, I think that shade is going to be doable. I think we can make it work. I honestly forgot how good that concealer formula is. Now this shade 11 Vanilla is still a little bit bright and a little light. I probably could use the next shade up. It's all going to work out in the end with the bronzer and the blush and everything that comes next. But the formula itself is really good. It's thin and lightweight in feel, but it actually has coverage. It looks almost skin-like under the eyes. It doesn't feel heavy, look heavy. And I like the sort of light to kind of medium coverage that I'm getting from that. So yay, I'm so glad to have that back in my collection. And now we need to set the concealer so it doesn't crease on me, and a little bit of setting powder through the T-zone as well. And the top setting powder recommendation was the CoverGirl Simply Ageless Pressed Powder. This is an instant wrinkle blurring pressed powder. This I have used before. I did use this in my CoverGirl 1 brand video, so I'm going to use this same powder for under eyes and T-zone. And you know what? We're just going to go in with a Sonia Kashuk Powder Puff. These you can get at Target. I'm just going to pick up a little bit of that and press this right over the concealer to set everything. I do like how blurring and smoothing this powder looks, and it doesn't settle into the fine lines. It doesn't accentuate texture. I think it's a good, solid setting powder, and I honestly don't really hear a lot of people talking about this powder or this line from CoverGirl very much. But it's good, and it feels really silky and soft on the skin. Next up for brows, I had a hard time deciding which one to use, and I think it's just going to come down to color, honestly. The one that had the most recommendations was the Micro Brow Pencil from NYX. I agree, this is a good one. I've used this before. The shade I have is Brunette. It does run a little bit warm and kind of dark. The other option was the L'Oreal Brow Stylist. Again, I do have that one as well. This one does run a little bit dark, slightly more cooler though than the NYX. And I also have that in the Brunette shade. So I was kind of swatching off camera to decide which one. The thicker line is the Brow Stylist, which is a thicker applicator. And the thin one here is the kind of micro from the NYX. So I think that the NYX does pull a little bit more red. So let's just start with L'Oreal first and see where that takes us. I'm going to give the brows a comb and get them upright a little bit. This one has a teardrop shape, and I do really like this product itself. I also really love a lot of L'Oreal products. They are a pretty good, solid brand from the drugstore, and I've enjoyed so many of their products lately. Since the point of this L'Oreal pencil is a little bit wider, I'm going to go to that NYX Micro Pencil to kind of spot fill certain little areas that I want a little bit more, because this is a lot more precise than the L'Oreal one. So I'm just do a little bit in certain areas just so I can demo both of them. I set my brows with the Maybelline Super Lock Brow Gel. It's the newest one that they've recently came out with a couple months back. I don't remember if I had a recommendation for brow gel, so I kind of subbed in one of my favorites from that line. It kind of goes with the theme of the video. Favorites from the drugstore, that's a solid one. Next up for bronzer, the Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer. I can see why this is a popular one that people love. It smells good. It smells just like summer. I love that scent. Even though we're at the tail end of summer, people probably feel the fall vibes right now because we're in September, but it smells like summer. I love this formula. It's buttery, it's smooth. This is in the shade called Bronzer. They do have a few different options, so you can choose one that you think would be best suited for your skin tone. I think I can pull this one off. I'm going to use my Real Techniques. This is the Mini Multitask Brush. I chose this shade because I wanted it to be something that I could use when my tan kind of fades. The other ones do seem a little bit more rich and a little bit deeper, so I feel like this one is one that I can definitely build up and still pull it off. I mean, it's definitely giving the warmth on my forehead. You can see that. That bronzer is definitely a classic. It's an old school staple, and I'm glad that it's finally back in my collection. I do like how easily that blended and how it looks on the skin, kind of blurred. Everything is looking really good. So far your recommendations have been 2 thumbs up for me. And we get to add some blush, which is one of my very favorite things to apply. I have a thing for blush. I love blush. Who doesn't? Blush is life, right? So I picked 2 from the list that I actually have not used. Well, one, I've used the formula before, but not the shade. The other one, I have not tried it at all. So the first one is the Essence Pure Nude Baked Blushes. The specific shade recommended was number 7, Cool Coral, and this looks beautiful. I love a good baked formula. I think that they look the prettiest on the skin, the more natural looking formulas. I love the way blush looks when it's baked. So I'm so excited to try that. The other one that I have not tried color-wise, formula I have, it's from Revlon. It's the pressed blushes in the shade Apricute. And I'm using my Ulta double-ended brush. This is the number 144, the dual-ended finishing powder brush. And I'm using the smaller size, and I'm applying the Revlon. So you can see, wow, that actually looks a little bit more warm when it's applied. It definitely looks very deceiving. In the pan, like I said, it's like a dusty rose with a little bit of depth to it. It's not quite as pink and bright as like a pinky type of rose, but this is definitely looking a little bit more warm when it's applied. Maybe it's the bronzer underneath, but I've tried this formula before and I think Revlon makes really good blushes. So I'm not surprised that I like this, and that color is actually really nice. I like that a lot. So this is what we'll do. Instead of doing just essence on the apples, let's do essence on this side, and then we'll make both cheeks match. Somehow we'll get to a more cohesive look. So I want to try both of them because I am very excited about this essence blush. I think this was like $4-5 at the most. Very inexpensive. The shade again is Cool Coral. To an angled blush brush from e.l.f. for the essence. I tapped off the excess, and we are going to see how this looks. This definitely has a bit more of a sheen to it as opposed to the Revlon. The Revlon looks a little bit more like a kind of satin matte finish. It's not super dry by any means. I think it's just everything else underneath. But this one from Essence definitely has a subtle sheen to it. And that's part of those baked blush formulas. They kind of give you that more skin-like, more natural finish. And I think this shade is really pretty. It's a little light, so I definitely need to build this up. I'm going to add a little bit more. Looks like the color just naturally flushing from my skin naturally, and it looks really pretty. And it looks really soft. You see a little bit of glow, which I like. And then here is the Revlon side. So let's go ahead and add some of that essence over the top of the Revlon side, and then go back to the Revlon blush and tap over the essence to fix this side. I'm going to go back into my foundation brush with whatever was left on it to blend and soften this, just to make sure. I think we're even Steven, are we? I think so. So I really do like those two blushes. I think that the Essence one, the Pure Nude Baked blushes, the Cool Coral shade specifically, is one that I do need to build up a little bit more. I think the Revlon has a lot more pigment to it. So I think next time I'm going to start with just less of the Revlon, because I do like this combination of the two shades. I think they play well together. And I like that kind of subtle sheen that it's giving the skin. It's a very healthy kind of natural sheen. It's not overly sparkly or any sort of big pieces of glitter. It does look kind of like a soft ethereal glow. So with that in mind, we are going to go into a highlighter. This is the Colourpop highlighter. The Super Shock formula was recommended. So I have the shade Lunch Money, and it's a really pretty kind of golden champagne. A very interesting texture. Feels creamy, smooth, but it goes on and wears like powder. It's a very nice formula, very bouncy and kind of squishy. So I do like the way this looks. This shade is a pretty kind of goldeny champagne color, and I think it'll play nicely right over these blushes. So I'm going to use my finger to blend this in. As you can see, it definitely adds the glow. Next up is some setting spray, and from the list I chose the Ulta Beauty Collection. They did a rebrand recently, and I wanted to try their Matte Veil setting spray. I don't think I've ever tried a setting spray from the in-house makeup line for Ulta, so I thought it would be a nice opportunity for me to try. So I grabbed the travel size, and I think I'm going to do this first, and then we'll move on to eyes, and we'll see how this sort of works with the rest of the makeup. I'll kind of check on it throughout the rest of the day and leave some wear notes in the description box for you. But let's go ahead and set the face. The sprayer does spray out quite a bit of product, and it does feel very substantial when it goes on. It's not like it hitting you in the face with big old droplets, but you feel it coating your entire face. So I do like the mister on that. And the mister on setting sprays is big. You have to have a good mister for it to actually cover your entire face. And you kind of let it sit, let it dry. You can fan it with your hands like I do. But I do like the mist of this, a couple spritz, and I felt it completely coating my face. And I also did feel it fall into my lap because it is a pretty substantial mist. It's not as ultra fine as some other ones that I've used, but that doesn't mean that it's a bad one. Again, I can't tell you if it's gonna work, but I like the way it kind of went on all over my face. I did press it in, and I feel like this is gonna be locked into place for the rest of the day. Moving on to an eye look today. Colourpop was one of those brands that made it on the list several times. I do have a couple palettes, some big ones and then some smaller ones. This one specifically, I honestly have not tried. I've had it for a while, and I thought this, again, would be a good opportunity for me to try something different. So it's the Colourpop That's Taupe palette. It looks like this. I'm sure you've seen it. This has been out for a while. I like that snake pattern on the front. It's a cardboard packaging, and on the back it tells you the names, which is pretty neat. And I do like the color story. It's a very cool tone color story, which I think will play nice with my blue top today. And I pulled some lip products that kind of have a pinky vibe. I do like pink lips with a more cool tone eye. I just like the vibe. So I think that's what I'm going to go for. But this is what this looks like. And it looks so pretty. So I cannot wait to try these out. Let me grab some eye brushes and we'll dive right on into this palette. To start off today's look, I'm going to take the shade called Boa from the palette. It's the first shade there. And I'm going to lightly dust this all over my lids, all the way up towards my crease with a Morphe and Ariel A11 brush. I'm going to hop over to the shade called Python, which is in the same row. And this one has a bit of a kind of cool rosy undertone to it. Again, it's another matte finish. I'm going to stick to that same brush. And I'm going to apply this to my crease. So as I'm blending this shade out, it looked in the pan to have like kind of rosy undertone, but as I blend it, I'm picking up a little hint of like a plumminess to it, right? Do you see that? Or is it just me? Am I seeing things? But I think it has a kind of plummy vibe to it. It's really nice, actually. So if you haven't seen the swatches of this palette yet, this is what it looks like. These are the 4 shimmer metallic finishes that you have in this palette. This one here, my pinky, I think, if memory serves me right, that is supposed to be a Super Shock shadow, right? Or maybe it's a kind of topper type shade because it is pretty light in pigment and it just mostly has a bit more sparkle and more glitter. It's this one here, and you can tell it just looks a little different. Hopefully the camera picks it up. It just looks a little different pressed in the pan, and it feels kind of squishy. So I think it is a Super Shock formula, which is this one here. And then you have some of these shades here. This one has a really pretty kind of greenish olive undertone. That's Constrictor. And then this one is beautiful. This one is called Snake Eyes. And I think I may need to go in with that one. The other one is a little bit cooler. This one is called Cold Blooded. And I think I'm going to just use my fingers to press that on. Whoa. Yes. I like the pigment and the color. I remember trying, not that long ago, the Stone Cold palette, and I had some issues with some of the shades blending, but this one seems to be better. Oh, this is so pretty. I was actually going to use that sparkly shade over the top, but honestly, I don't feel like I need to do that. I can definitely pick up the sparkle in this color specifically. I'm going to take the Python shade and run that on my lower lash line. That is the color that I have in my crease, just to add a little bit of color and some definition to the under eye area. And this is a Morphe E36 brush. Let's add a little bit of depth just to use another shade from this palette. And let's take that dark shade at the bottom called Bedrock, which is a really deep, kind of cool toned espresso brown. And I'm going to use a Colourpop E29 brush. Picking up ever so slightly, just a tiny little bit. Tap off the excess, and I'm going to run that really close to the root of my lashes on the outer half of my under eye area here. Okay, so let's do a final blend with the crease brush. I think I'm going to leave it here for the eyeshadows for today. I definitely see myself using this palette again. I think the colors are pretty. It blended out nicely. I like the kind of rose gold vibes on the lid. I like the sparkle, that metallic finish. This is definitely a much better, more improved experience for me personally than the other mega palettes that I used from Colourpop a couple weeks ago. I had some difficulties blending some of those shades, but this one seemed to be a lot better for me personally. So now we get to add the final touches to the eye. And for eyeliner, the recommended one was from Essence. This is the Stay and Play Gel Liner. My subscriber said shade number 2, so I assume that means shade number 2, but first espresso. So that's what I picked up from Ulta. And it looks to be like a really deep kind of chocolatey brown, which I like for every day. And I'm going to run this right along the lash line. And then I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to smudge this just a little bit to create kind of a smoky effect at the root of my lashes. I'm going to tight line as well with it. Finishing up the eyes, I'm going to do a two-step process. I'm going to first start with a primer, so the CoverGirl Lash Blast Primer. I haven't tried this. It's been years since I've used the Lash Blast formula. I have never tried this product, so this is a white primer. Most lash primers look white and they kind of give you some length, volume. They help kind of boost the effects of your mascara. And this, to me, if memory serves me right, looks like the same type of wand from the Lash Blast mascara. The one in the orange tube. The mascara is from Maybelline. This is the Falsies Surreal mascara. The shade specifically recommended was black brown. And I like how dark the tone of this brown is, or black brown I should say. It almost looks like an espresso type shade. I like the brush wand. So let's go ahead and coat the lashes. I'm going to do 2 coats on the top, and I'm going to do 1 coat also on the bottom. Ooh, I like. Yay! I'm liking this mascara so far. I'm going to go in with coat number 2. While the mascara dries, let's work on a lip combo. And I was so excited to see the NYX Lip Liners on the list a couple of times. The NYX, just the classic wooden pencil lip liners are my favorite from this line. I'm going to use a shade called Nude Pink. The Milani lipsticks were also on the list for lip products. There was a couple different options, but I thought I'd give this one a go again. This is the shade number 430 Secret, and this is those soft kind of matte finish lipsticks. I'm going to go right over the top of this lip liner. And this is the Milani lipstick over the lip liner. And that is the combination of lip liner and lipstick. I like the way that looks, and I think it goes nicely with the eye look for today. I do want to top it though with a gloss. The NYX Butter Glosses, I have 2 shades, Creme Brulee and Vanilla Cream Pie. Again, it's been such a long time since I've used this formula. I remember really loving the Creme Brulee shade specifically, but I decided to pick up the other shade that's more pink, and that's Vanilla Cream Pie. So that's Vanilla Cream Pie, and then the Creme Brulee on the top, which is a little bit more warm. So let's do this one. Let's break that seal. There we go. Oh, it smells so good. It smells like vanilla. I hope that this video was as fun to watch as it was for me to film. You guys gave me some really great recommendations that did not disappoint, so thank you again for submitting your favorites. I want to do this again, so if you haven't shared anything with me previously, please let me know. If you discover anything great, also give me those recs as well. I love trying new products. Thank you for being here, for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. I post every Tuesday and every Friday, and we can also be friends on Instagram. My username pops up here on the screen. Take care, you guys, and we'll talk very soon. Bye-bye.